Hello, welcome to a special edition of Sea of Tranquility. I am your host, Jamie Laszlo. So, what makes this special and what is this show all about? What is it all about? Maybe that could be the title of this show. What is this all about? Let me introduce everyone who's here. We got Mr. Peter Pardo right here from Sea of Tranquility, the man himself. We got Grant Arthur from Grant's Rock Warehouse, and he pretty much runs the Contrarians, about 80%, I'd say. We got John Gaffney. He is from Lair of the Alchemist. Go follow his channel. We got Phil Aston from the UK, and he is on Now Spinning Magazine. And you all know Martin Popoff. You see him here every Friday in the Funhouse. He's on the Contrarians. He's got his podcast, History in 5 Songs with Martin Popoff. He'd shoot me if I didn't add that into the title because it's officially part of the title. So, why do I have everyone assembled? I did invite Scott Lade from the Prog Corner. Hopefully, he shows up a little late because I want him here too. So, I guess you would call us YouTubers, even though I hate that term. We are YouTubers. And I was thinking, well, Martin and I were talking a couple of weeks ago. What's this all about? Why do our opinions even matter? And then I started thinking, why do we do this? I mean, some of the people here that you're looking at make a little bit of money, but nothing you can make a living on, I promise you. Some of us make zero money, and some of us, like me, even pay money to do this. What? It's not much, and I'm not complaining, but I do pay a little bit of money to do this monthly. So why would you pay money to work? I don't know. That's why we're doing this video, and maybe get into a little bit of how we do the videos, how we prepare, how it affects our personal lives. If anyone here doesn't want to get in that aspect, I totally understand, but I might get into it if we have time. This could be a long show. This could be a disaster show. This could be an intriguing show. I have no idea. We're going to see where it goes. It might have to be a 2-part show. If things start to get a little long, we'll find out. But I got some talking issues up on the big screen here. I thought we'd get the ball rolling with that to give you, so no one has to just come up with thoughts on their own. Let's get the ball rolling here with this. First question, why do we do this? Why put so much work into it? Strictly for the love of music? Do you consider it a hobby, like building ships in a bottle? Are you trying to make a living from it? Maybe not now, maybe that's your goal. Are you looking to bond with people from all over the world, which is kind of cool? Are you looking to be a part of something bigger than yourself, like this online community the 6 of us have here? And are you looking to be a bit of a YouTube celebrity, if you're being really honest? So, look, I'll start. Why do we do this? I don't fucking know. But I will say this. When Pete invited me to do my very first video, I was excited as hell. And I got it was Elton John, our top 10 albums. And I got a real, can you see me? I feel like I'm in the dark. I got a real buzz from doing it. And when it was over, I'm like, man, that was great. And I've been chasing the buzz ever since. So let me move my light here a little bit. So
Jamie, I think it's the white screen behind you. It's like,
oh,
hold up a piece of paper. Yeah.
Okay. So that's part of it. Why do you put so much work into it? Well, here's the thing. If you were doing a presentation at work in front of 100 people, you wouldn't want it to look like shit in front of those 100 people, right? You want to make it look good. We're doing shows in front of a few thousand people. I don't want it to look like shit. And you see this reflection right here of this light? Yeah. This is a light on the floor reflecting off a picture behind it and going into the TV. I normally put a piece of paper over the picture it's reflecting into so it doesn't reflect back into the TV. So I put a lot of work in. In fact, if you want to see the whole setup, this is the setup this morning. I have to drag this from my movie room down the hallway. I can't put my laptop on the bar because then you can't see the TV far. It's too far. So I have to drag this from the other room. I put the a little stand on top of that. Then I put the laptop on top of that. I have to put a light behind it, the laptop, so it doesn't reflect into the TV. I put a light lower so it's not too high and reflects into the TV. And then on this picture, I put a piece of paper so this doesn't reflect into that. into that, and I have to keep the top lights off so they don't reflect into the TV. This takes
Guerrilla,
about
guerrilla
40 minutes.
filmmaking 101 right there.
This takes 40 minutes to do alone. When you see me on the angle where my CDs are behind me, that takes 3 seconds to set up.
Yeah.
This, for like when I need to use the TV, takes a little work. Then I got to drag out my 2 bar stools so I can put my props on there, whether it's albums or silly, you know, comedic props or whatever. Then keep that light off so it doesn't reflect. So it's a lot goes into it. But why do it? Because, well, here's the thing too. I do that so it doesn't look like shit. And then why do I put like so much work into props? And, you know, if it's a Bon Jovi jacket or dressing up like Batman or dumping blood on my head. The reason I do that is because if I never force the idea. I never sit there and go, oh my God, this show's in 2 days. I got to come up with some kind of bit. No, if the bit comes out of the sky and falls in front of me and I see it, I got to do it. It turns into a small child tugging on my pant leg going, you got to do me. You got to do this thing. And if I don't do it and the show goes by without doing it, that idea of a child is now looking at me like, you son of a bitch. You missed your chance. You could have done it and you didn't. And then I feel bad. So it has to be done, even if it costs a little bit of money. So when it comes to being a YouTube celebrity, I'm going to be honest. When I first started watching people on YouTube, Pete, Martin on Banger TV. I used to watch Martin on Banger TV. I'm going back like 8 years now, Martin. God, you were younger than me when I started watching you. So Pete would do questions and answers, right? And I asked him something about the Kinks, and I was watching it with my wife, and he answered my question and said my name. I was like, oh my God, Grace, did you see that? He said my name. Martin was doing a Lock Horns episode, if anyone remembers the old live Lock Horns episodes from like 6 years ago or so. And it was on something to do with Ozzy Osbourne. And there was a chat before the show started. And I was talking in the chat, and Martin and the Sam Dunn and Lisa, I forget her last name, Lanator.
Yeah.
They were all there, and I said something about Bark at the Moon. I said, I can't believe Martin Popoff thinks Bark at the Moon is the best Ozzy album. I don't know if he still thinks that, but at the time. And I got a response. Martin says to tell you blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God, Martin spoke to me. So, but here's the thing. Once I became part of this community of being a YouTuber, at first I thought, oh my God, now I'm a celebrity. But as time went on, I realized that Pete and Martin, I didn't really rise up to their level. Once I got on YouTube, I realized we were always on the same level to begin with. We were just a bunch of guys talking about music, whether it's in the chat or whether it's in front of the camera. So instead of being a celebrity, I'm looking at it now as time goes on. Us up here on YouTube, everyone down in the comments, it's just a big circle, like a big world. And we're all part of it. Just some of us are on camera and some of us aren't. So that aspect in the beginning was kind of there, but it's not really there anymore. Are you trying to make a living from it? Fuck no. No, I'm not. So there's other aspects into this, preparing, how it affects your family life, but let's focus on this. Does anyone want to add anything to the points I have on the screen behind me?
I want to, Martin and I, in fact, Martin mentioned it yesterday on the show we did yesterday morning at the Funhouse. This whole idea of a lot of our viewers, probably more than a lot, are very, very intelligent about these subjects that we talk about. I mean, Martin mentioned that we have all these, to use his term, these music swamis that gather to watch what we discuss and take part in conversations in the comments. And a lot of them know probably more about what we talk about than even we do. I mean, that's the truth of it. It's not that we are the all-knowing. I think we do this, and I've said this from the beginning. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just a music nerd, a music fan like everybody else. I do this because I've loved music and talking about it, and this whole idea of being a historian is it's just in me. And when I started doing this 10 years ago, I mean, I already had the webzine way before then, right? So I've been kind of doing this sort of journalist writing type of thing for a long time. But and Grant and I have talked about this before. I went to college. I was a broadcasting major. I wanted
So
to be.
was I.
I wanted
So
to be in
was I.
TV. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily
Yeah.
want to be in front of the camera, but I wanted to be behind the scenes. I wanted to be a content creator. That's always been part of my DNA.
I wanted to be a Howard Stern.
I just wanted to
Unbelievable.
do productions, all I wanted to do.
Right. So, when I started doing the YouTube channel in 2014 as an extension of the webzine, I mean, I hadn't been in front of the camera in ages, and it was hard at first to get kind of back into it. I look back at some of those early videos and I'm like, it's cringeworthy. It's terrible. Not that I'm all that much better now, but I think I just got more comfortable in front of the camera again. And I treat it as if I'm talking to people, right? Not just trying to be someone else or perform. Because I don't think of what I do as performing. I think of it as it's just being me. It's just me talking about, a few of us, when we got together for Sea Tranquility Fall Fest a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, it was just really cool being around like so many of our viewers and just having conversations like we all do every day on this format, right? So it's just, I think for me, I do this because I love music so much. It's always for me more about promoting the music, the bands, the artists, less about trying to make me a star. Is it kind of cool when you're out somewhere at a show and 30 people come up to you and tell me how much they love what I do and all that kind of stuff, and they want to talk to me? It's cool. It's still kind of weird because, like I said, I don't think I'm any different than anybody else. I'm no big movie star or rock star or anything like that. I will never think that. Is it cool that people follow what I do and really like it and get pleasure out of it? And I mean, I think the biggest compliment to me is when someone, and it happens all the time, is when someone comes up to me and said, I found you during COVID when the world was coming apart and you were the only positive thing I had going in my life. And I want to thank you for keeping me sane through that whole thing, and how much of what you talk about reminded me how much I love and how much passion I have for the music. And it rekindled that in me, and it continues on to this day. That means a lot to me. That if I've done anything right here, that's one of them. And when the bands appreciate what we do for them, because again, the driving force is promoting what they do, right? If I made no money doing this and nobody approached me at the supermarket or a concert, that's fine. But as long as the bands appreciate what we do, that's really what makes me happy. That's my driving force here.
And getting to interview the likes of Dennis DeYoung and Rob Halford, that's a nice little perk.
That's great, because that's the fan in me that gets all giddy. I mean, I will tell you, I've interviewed a ton of people. The only one really that I was really nervous about, and I don't know why, was Rob Halford. I mean, and I've been
bigger than life
guys than him. Yeah, it was just, but then he was so humble and just normal, and within like a minute, I was kind of like, why was I so worked up about this? It's like, and then we just got into the conversation. And they're all just normal people like us. It's very rare that I interview someone and I get off and I'm kind of like, he was kind of a dick, or kind of a, really stuck up, or maybe he had that attitude, right? Most of them aren't like that at all.
And what if I told you back, what year did Images and Words come out? 94? What if I told you
92.
back 92? Oh,
Yeah.
that early. Wow. Yeah, it was 92. I was at Penn State. What if I told you in 92, that drummer, you're going to be buddies with him in about 30 years. You go, get the fuck out of here. Yet another little perk you get.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the great thing about Mike Portnoy is, other than the fact that he's a famous drummer and playing in one of my favorite bands, he's so much like me. I mean, when he and I get together and chat about music, I mean, he is all the same little trigger things that he loves about music. It's me to a T. Like if I grew up on Long Island and I knew Mike Portnoy, we would have been best friends, without a doubt. And it's cool to meet guys like that. He's just a fan. He's a fan who happens to be a great drummer and playing in a great band. I mean, and has played with tons of great people. But at his core, Mike Portnoy is a music nerd, just like all of us. That's what he is. And he makes no bones about it. He's got a passion for it. That's cool.
Anyone else?
I'll jump in now. I've only been doing this for about 3 years. I'm probably the oldest person in the room as well. I am trying to do it as a full-time job. it was the love of music that drew me in. It was COVID that destroyed my current job as it was. So I looked around thinking, what can I do? What do I know about? Always loved music. I live in a rural part of the UK, and I thought, does anyone else actually still buy physical music, or am I the only bloke that tries to find a CD anymore? So I set up a private music group on Facebook, and it attracted a lot of people. And my background was like web design and media and stuff. So then I just started to look about where I could find other people that love music. So it wasn't about becoming known. It was about finding like-minded people, and the kind of objective of imagining I was sitting down in a pub somewhere having a drink and talking about on a Friday night, what have you bought this week? And then the YouTube channel kind of just was another thing that got bolted on to that. So it's interesting we say we see ourselves as YouTubers. I see Pete as a YouTuber because you what you do, and the fact that every time I tune in, there's about another 3 or 4 videos that I've managed to catch up with. Whereas I'm kind of, I see YouTube as part of my Now Spinning Magazine toolkit, but I'm on LinkedIn, I'm doing the website, I'm on all the other social channels. So it's part of that. I guess because I came from something called Google Plus, which made me really nervous because I had tens of thousands of followers on there, and then Google just decided this is a bit boring and it pulled the plug. So I went down to 0. So it made me nervous about sticking all my eggs in one basket. I doubt if YouTube will ever disappear, but it made me feel that I want to make sure that I've got communities that span across more than one platform, just in case if I am trying to make this a full-time job, that I don't have all my revenue streams in one place in case the algorithm changes or YouTube decide that why are we giving people that much, and they decide to shrink it down to a few peanuts. So I'm trying to keep everything the same, and I've also been inspired by everyone in this talk today, and seeing Pete talk to various rock stars, and what you were saying as well. If someone had said to me, Phil, one day you'll talk to Steve Howe or Steve Hackett or Andy Powell, when I was sitting in the Birmingham Odeon watching these bands 40 years ago, I'd have never believed it. But I felt that as a fan and trying to, it's a shame that the other guy from Prog Corner's not here, because I feel I'm personally the opposite end of where he is, because he has the personality that I could probably never have. When he can do like those clickbait videos, 10 albums that suck, and you'll get thousands of views and everything skyrockets up and everything. I'm just too probably not I'm not controversial enough to be able to do that. And I'm always thinking not just through the eyes of the band, but I think when Pete, you do these as well, like the tribute videos when somebody sadly passes over, and I realize that when I've done those, I've actually had like the rock star's widow or their children have got in touch with me, and it's made me really sensitive about how I talk about bands online, because you never know who's going to see this.
Yes.
And the other
I've
thing,
learned my lesson a few times.
yeah, and the other thing is that about trying to make it your full-time job, and you've got, to me personally, I've got to make it effortless, and it's got to be real and from the heart, because the algorithm will tell me, well, Phil, that was a popular video. You want to do more of them? And then I'll interview some band that's a new band, and there'll hardly be any views on the video. And YouTube will say, less people are watching this video, Phil. Maybe you don't want to do as many of these. So yeah, and you've got to stay true to yourself, haven't you?
That's the most frustrating part of this.
Yeah.
Is seeing what strikes a chord with viewers and what doesn't. And I apologize for any clean noises and things there. I'm outside. And that's something, like just to keep it current, like this summer has been a very frustrating time for me on the Sea and Tranquility channel, because views are very low the last like 2 months for whatever reason. We're pumping out just as much content, and it's clear to me that at this moment people are more drawn to negative type content, whereas these albums suck, these bands suck,
Yeah,
that sort of thing, and less about the more positive, uplifting stuff, or the more serious, thought-provoking conversations that I know we all love to do more than anything else. So it's hard sometimes trying to figure out what's going to work and what's not. And I agree with you 100%. I don't like doing the clickbaity stuff. I know I see a lot of YouTube channels that do that all the time, and they get tons of views.
Yeah.
Come out of nowhere with that. And I've come to the conclusion that I need to do it occasionally just because. But I don't feel right about doing it a lot because I just don't think that's where I'm coming from. Right.
I think it's I'm sorry. Well, the clickbaity thing, I'm sorry. I think when we do these shows, I try to take it that we are serious music channels. We
Yes.
aren't like into shtick. We're not into
Speak for yourself.
I take this very seriously. Yeah,
I do too. I take my shtick very
I'm just
seriously.
a talk show host, I'm a monkey with fiber optic cable. That's all I am. But I do take it seriously. I can try to think up of a title that will try to intrigue the viewer to come in. I don't total clickbait. I just don't think I think that takes away credibility. And I try to think that we're serious music channels. We are trying to turn people onto music. That's really what we're doing. That's the only reason I'm doing it.
Sometime about that though, because I think a good portion of our viewership for all of our channels and things are very serious music fans.
Yeah.
But in order to kind of bring more people into the fold and grow, it's hard to do that sometimes with our very nuanced, niche conversations. So that's why, like, every now and then I'll pop something in that I'm like, well, any average music Joe might enjoy this conversation, and hopefully they latch onto everything else that we do. But I see channels that like every video is some kind of crazy negative clickbait.
Negative
Like,
thing.
That turns me
all of a
on.
sudden 40,
Yeah,
50,
yeah.
100,000 views like within 3 days. I'm like, man, what am I doing?
But it's all crap. It'll be a clickbaity thing, and then you click on it. It has nothing to do with what it says in the clickbait.
Yeah.
I just don't think that just doesn't give credibility to me. I just don't.
What I'd like to do, because I don't like the negativity either, and I completely agree with you that if you put up some negative title like the worst singers in heavy metal, it's going to
Yeah.
get more attention. I try to turn it back on myself and I say, like albums I should like, but for some reason don't. So the hate, when people get it, the negativity is sort of, I'm pointing it at me, like, why don't I like this album? Or how come I didn't discover this till later? Or singers I could never get into. I kind of try to phrase it that way rather than making it like these bands suck or these albums suck, and then you're putting it out because it's always somebody's favorite record. It's always somebody's
Exactly.
favorite
I don't have
singer.
a problem with that as long as you can use something negative, as long as that's what you're going to deliver in the video. But a
Yeah.
lot of these people do that, and it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
I
but
will say
sometimes they're
when I
just
review
mocking
albums-
people, and
When I review albums, if I don't like this new Deep Purple album, if I didn't, I would tell you, and I might review it and say, yeah, this Deep Purple album just ain't cutting it for me. But I will not go out of my way to go to listen to some underground struggling band and come on and go out of my way to tell you that they suck. If Jamie Laszlo doesn't like Deep Purple, that's not going to be a niche in their armor at all.
Oh,
But if I go and tell you such and such band, underground band sucks, don't listen to them, I might be doing some real harm to their career. I would never do that. So that's the difference there.
The hardest thing to do, especially when reviewing products, and I know Martin could back me up on this, is that if it's really the music is not working for you, I run into this all the time. If I'm a band's nice enough to send me their new album and I listen to, they're all excited, they want to review on SOT, and I listen to it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just not my thing. I will make sure, because I know enough about music and I've done this long enough that I can say, all right, here's the album, folks. This is what's good about it. It's not my thing, but for those of you that like X, Y, and Z, give this a try. I'm only going to give it a 3 out of 5 because it's not for me, but I know people who will say, oh, Pete only gave it a 3 out of 5. I'm not going to listen to it. No, that's not what you should do. You should give it a chance on your own, because just because I don't like it, because it's not in my wheelhouse. If you like these other things, and I make sure to talk about what those other things are that it's reminded me of, then people say, oh, well, I do like those bands. Even though Pete didn't like this, I'll go check it out. That's not easy to do. And there's a lot of people just like, this sucks. I don't like it. I'm going to give it a 0 out of 5, right? And just trash it. And that doesn't help the band at all.
No, you gotta take yourself out of your own shoes and take it
Yeah.
from a different perspective.
And still, if you're doing reviews, you should be able to look at that band. You should be able to look at that music. Maybe it's not something you listen to all the time, but if you've listened to enough music in your lifetime, and we're all old, we should be able to listen to that track or that record and be objective and just go, yeah, this isn't in my wheelhouse, but look, this. If you like this stuff, this checks all those boxes. You might want to check it out.
Right. Martin, you're being quiet.
Okay, well, I'll jump in. So, so Jamie, thanks for doing this list. I mean, I'll just rattle off some things I made some notes on about this. So it'll probably jump through some of these things, but so some sort of odd ways to look at this. It's like, you know how kids say that, oh my God, something's actually phoning me. Don't phone me, text me, kind of thing, right? I think maybe the old person's equivalent of that is, oh my God, don't ask to go out in person anywhere or do anything. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is you guys are my friend set. And I actually, this is the way I want to have my friend network and not go out in person with my friends and stuff, because, you know, the timing doesn't work. It doesn't fit with my drinking schedule. I'm always fighting my weight, all that sort of stuff. Right. I don't want to go out and be a captive audience in a bar or whatever. I don't want to schedule things. Right. So, so this is kind of cool. It's almost like maybe the old, like I say, the old person equivalent is that I see you guys all the time, and that's kind of my new friend set. And this is like, it's a high tech way to have a friend set, but the way the kids now are texting and they don't want to even talk to people in person, kind of thing. So that's one thing. The other
And you
thing
can turn us off when you're done with us. Click.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, but
Well,
we'll get to
there
he goes.
Don't have to start. Oh, it's getting late.
Yeah.
X out.
Yeah. But, and the other thing that I always thought was funny, I'm still tickled pink with the idea how easy this is, right? And for me, the asterisk with me has always been, and it somehow it just happened like almost in conjunction. You know, with Pete, it's a whole different thing because the numbers are so cool and it's so neat seeing all those comments. And that's a lot of fun about doing this. You actually get a whole bunch of feedback versus my podcast where, you know, I'm on like 40 places with that podcast kind of thing, but none of them have comment sections and stuff. Right. So the YouTube thing, there's that. But then also at the same time, when I got on with Pete and we started doing this and it was great. We've had such a great time doing it. That's when Marco and Nick would right just before COVID, bring over all this equipment and we'd film these things. And the point is that it was easy that they would do all that work and they'd go away and they were all enthusiastic about editing and putting together these really professional videos. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Someone's doing that. So the same thing happened when I started on my audio podcast. I said, look, I've heard too many horror stories about how much time it takes to edit all these things and do all this work. I'm only going to do this if I don't have to do anything. Right. So basically with the podcast, I tell them my 5 30-second clips. And that's basically about it. The title and here's the name of them. And I pick the spots and then they do all that, do the ads and all that sort of stuff. So I think I have a little bit of a special relationship over there, but probably everybody has a couple things they want hand holding on. But my point is that, I love doing all this because it's a really cool high-tech thing. That's not a lot of work for me on the editing end. I just told myself if I'm going to get into this because, you know, it doesn't make much money, right? If I'm going to get into this, I don't want to have any of that editing stuff to do. Just rattle through the rest of my points. Another cool thing about this is it's a way to show your collection and it's there forever. So the immortality thing of literally like first the immortality thing of your collection. I don't have particularly pictures of all my collection. And when the computers die and those are all gone, we're all going to lose our pictures anyways. Our family's not going to use them or need them, right? So we're literally, this is the place where our whole collection is shown live. And then the other immortality thing is this is the place where there's hundreds of hours of me yapping forever for anybody who ever wants to have that hundreds of years from now, if the world doesn't burn down or the sun doesn't burn out and all that kind of stuff, right? Capitalism doesn't completely collapse. So all technology is gone. As long as YouTube's here, you know, this is the place where family and descendants and friends and all that can just see you yapping forever. I mean, it's literally our version of immortality. Playing DJ, of course, it's the exact same reason a DJ does what they do, and it's the exact same reason I write all these books. This is an extension of that. We just love to, as Grant says, turn people on to music. So you're always like pushing music, and you get that little buzz when people discover a band that you told them about, kind of thing. This is my full-time job, Nick, not the YouTube part of it, but I'd say 85% of my full-time job is writing books. And so writing them, I get paid royalties, and I get paid by being a mail order guy. And that's it. I think those are the two things, right? Then I do a little bit of outside writing, and then some of this. And I've told Grant and Marco this, and I truly believe this. Like, I've got so many deadlines right now that are done basically by the end of November. I've said, and I believe this, it's like, if I stop saying yes to book projects, I could see doing 5 shows a day of this and saying, okay, now's the time to really go crazy, right? And like literally throw hours of this, 4, 5, 6 hours of this into this a day, instead of 4, 5, 6 hours every 2 weeks or a week, right? It's probably every week still, honestly, given all the stuff we do, right? So yeah, I guess those are my reasons. And like I say, yeah, I love the YouTube, because Pete's numbers are so big too. It's so fun for us. I mean, I'm constantly trolling in there, answering people's comments, looking at them 2, 3, 4 times a day, when the video goes up, or the next day. And it's like, oh, how did this one do? How did that one do? Comparing all the numbers. That's all fun. And then over on the Contrarians, I just love the idea that Grant and Marco are doing all this crazy, complicated stuff, running the Patreon, doing the editing, putting things together that I don't have to sort of busy myself with. But, and like I say, I keep saying that one day I can just do many, many, many more shows. I just got to clear some of my schedule, because, I have a total blast doing this. So that's most of the points I think I wanted to make. So I'll turn it back over to you guys.
I did get a text from Scott Lake from the Prague Corner. He said, I just got into an accident, 3 exclamation points. Sorry, 4 exclamation points. Some ding dong rear-ended me at the grocery store, and there are 6 frowny faces. So, but I do know that he said he wanted to come on and say that he really enjoys being a YouTube celebrity. He really enjoys it, and that's the angle I wanted from him. So it's a shame that he can't be here.
All right.
I wanted to touch on real quick.
Go ahead.
Whole idea of wanting to do this for a living, which I would agree at some point I would love to do it. I mean, I as everybody knows, I work a full-time job, got family, lots of things going on. I've got elderly parents that I'm, taking care of and helping with them and all that kind of thing. I look at this as I'm building the blocks now for, hopefully, because I'm approaching 60, and everything I'm doing now, hopefully when I can retire and walk away from the day job, that I can do this as a serious hobby and still make some money doing it, right, as extra income. But right now, even with the biggest channel out of all of us here, I mean, I can't live off of what this brings in. So if everybody thinks that I'm making like big bucks doing this, I'm not. And the money that is being made on this a lot of times goes and get paid for bringing in new music to listen to and review and talk about, and collections to fill in so we can do ranking shows and all that kind of stuff. And I got to pay taxes on it and everything like that. So I constantly have to put whatever comes in, I got to put some away to do that. So you
got to pay for subscriptions for the streaming channels,
all the streaming channels and everything like that, and the hosting for the website and the mailing out CDs to writers. And so it's like, it's not as easy as everybody thinks. But to Martin's point, if the opportunity came where all of a sudden I only had this, I could easily spend 4 or 5 hours a day coming, because there's a lot of ways that you can take what we're doing here and grow it, given the time and the resources, right? Work on more marketing, how to get the word out, use social media in way more ways than what we're doing right now. Because I do very little on social media to promote what we do here. I do a little bit on Facebook. I don't do anything on TikTok or Instagram or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm sure there's ways that I could spend more time and energy to promote SOT and maybe hook up with some marketing companies that work on, they specialize in growing your audience and things like that. So given the time and the resources, sure, I could make this bigger, and eventually make enough to maybe live on it. I don't know, but you can't do it right now. But for anybody here or watching who has aspirations to do so, you certainly can. There's a lot of people that are making a living doing this, but it takes a lot of work. So
Rick Beato.
yeah, right. But that's the extreme, right, Grant? I mean, so
Yeah.
everybody thinks how
You got to have
successful
3
Airflow-
million. You got to have 1 million subscribers to really make any money, from what I understand.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't, for me personally, I was 65 this year, so I'm in a position where I am putting all my resources into it. So it's, and I have set up little outposts across every social media channel. I mean, my background was in marketing, so I put a lot of effort into Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook page, and everything to just have different, creating lots of little snippets of content, and also using LinkedIn to build relationships with the record labels and the PR companies, etc. And so I've broke even, and I have seen now that through the different revenue streams I've got, we see the thing is, I'm not expecting to build an empire, but when you reach the kind of age zone I'm in, you want to, you realize that when you look in the rearview mirror, there's more time behind you than ahead of you. So you don't want to create something that becomes an overhead of stress and targets and analytics. You want something that gives you a little bit of money, but you're not where you were when you were 30 thinking I'm going to employ 50 people, and it's a different world. It's a different mindset. So I don't want it to cost money to do this, and I want it to give a little bit something back. But I mean, it must be the same for you, Pete. If someone sends you a box set, you haven't had to buy that. And so there are different ways of how you look at how the income comes in, and Patreon and YouTube members and advertising on the website. There's other things, but they're all tiny, and on their own, they're not enough. But collectively, you kind of hope that it just builds to pay. Well, that's paid for the Zoom subscription. That's paid for that bit of software. That's paid for that. So it kind of, the overhead comes down. But yeah, I have to say that's what I've done, is I'm now doing this every day as if I'm treating it like it's my full-time job. And under the basis that if you treat a hobby like a business, it kind of comes a business.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to become an overhead of stress or like
Gotta be
angst
fun,
about.
right? It's got
It's got to be, yeah. I'm at a stage in my life where I want it to be effortless and I want it to be fun.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to be like I'm competing with, as you just mentioned, the guy who's got 3.5 million subscribers. I'm in a totally different ballpark. I'm not going to look at that. I think, because when I first started, and this is the same for anyone watching this, I was obsessed with competitors and all that. And I thought, well, if I'm just true to myself about what I would like to talk about, then I'm not competing with anybody, because I'm just being me. Because I watch videos about techniques and lighting and recording and editing, but I try not to watch too many other people on YouTube doing similar things, because in case I get influenced by thinking, well, maybe I should do titles like that, or maybe I'm missing a trick by not having a 2-minute intro video. I think I don't want a 2-minute intro video, because it would mean extra graphics and I'd just get bogged down.
And everyone fast forward through it anyways.
Exactly. I just want to press, I've got an idea, press record, go.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I will
Well,
say this. It's amazing when you go out there on YouTube, how many people have a YouTube channel. It's getting to the point where everyone has one. And even if these people, a lot of people, they're getting a total of like 15 views, they're still pumping out videos. It makes me think of the Andy Warhol saying, but I want to tweak it a little bit. He was close, but not 100% right. He couldn't see the future. He said everyone was going to be famous for 15 minutes. Maybe it's everyone's going to be famous to 15 people.
Well, I
It's
want to
hard to
jump in.
start.
Oh, I want to jump in because I need to give props to a couple of people here, because without them, I would not be here. And that would be Pete Pardo and Martin Popoff. So I discovered Pete's channel back in the COVID days, when you used to do live streams in your backyard and you answered questions. We'd all go out there and everybody loved. We did all that. Okay. But Martin and Pete have you can quote me, and I've said it before. You two have the best show on YouTube. music show. The best. That's why I'm here. So I looked on the Contrarians page because it was May 22nd, 2021, when Martin and Marco opened up. They had a Patreon. They allowed viewers to come on and be on shows. That's how long it's been since when Martin and Marco opened it up. So immediately when that happened, I was like, wow, I can actually go on the show, talk with other people about music, my passion. I didn't really have an outlet. The only reason I'm doing this is to talk music. It's not to be famous. It's not to be, I could give a crap about it. I want to talk about music, get turned on to bands that I've never heard of, and just have serious music conversation. That's the only reason. So anyway, they started that first show and Todd Evans was on. There were a whole bunch of people. And I remember that first show, Martin, and Todd and I were on the show. We've talked about it. And you were on the panel as well. Now, I had never done a panel before. And I'm on there with Martin and I'm going, holy shit. I felt like a deer in the headlights. I'm out of my league. I can't do this. I was scared as hell. But we did it and I'm still here, still cranking crap out. So the reason I started my channel is because if you're familiar with the Contrarians on the Patreon members can submit topics and everybody votes on the topics for next month's show. Okay. So I would put topics in, some of them would get picked up and I had so much I wanted to talk about that I thought, well, what the hell? I saw Peter Kerr started a channel. I went, there were a lot of people that started channels from the Contrarians. I couldn't get enough out there. So I started my own channel. Here we are. Here I am here to talk to you about it. It's been wonderful. I live for this stuff because I get whenever we have the live show on Wednesday, any show, I get such a buzz out of it, adrenaline rush, because we're talking music, we're turning people on to stuff. I love it. Now, Jamie, you were talking about the production. Phil, you were talking about the production thing. My background is in television production, and I was a graphic designer for 15 years. I can edit on the fly. I can do up a thumbnail in 5 minutes. I can do this stuff in my sleep. I could do all this stuff all day, all night. The only thing that's keeping me from not doing it is sleeping. But between the Contrarians, this, and prepping for Pete's show, I'm busy. But I love it. I never get tired of it. I could do it. I've been doing this stuff for years. It's the perfect scenario. Talk music. I get to do graphics. I get to deal with technology. It's great.
I remember
that's my spiel, but I love it.
Pete, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, Grant brought up a couple of interesting things that maybe is a good direction to kind of take this conversation. So the first thing, most of us, if not all of us, when we started our own channel, our own outlets, we were doing it just us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I started this channel, it was just me in front of a camera for 3 years. And that's all fine and dandy, right? Gets boring after a while. It wasn't until I started having guests on. And I think this goes to something Martin said a little bit ago. All of a sudden, you start working with these people that you never knew before and having these conversations and finding this like-mindedness and love and passion for bands and certain types of music. And then all of a sudden, these panel shows get bigger and you look forward to seeing everybody every week or every other week. And then maybe every 6 or 8 months, you start working with someone new and you start up a show with them. And, I've done shows with everybody on this panel before. And I got to tell you, it's what Martin said. All of a sudden, this becomes our group of friends, right? Because I see all of you guys and everybody else who appears on SOT way more than I see any of my friends that I've known for 30, 40, 50 years. And I love them too, right? But all of a sudden, we found our like-minded individuals that, because everybody who does these shows together, right? We do it for a reason, because we like working with each other. And we have the same passions for a lot of the same types of music and same bands. I mean, I look forward, and Martin and I talk about it all the time. We look forward to every Friday morning. It's a fun way to start off, to kickstart the weekend, to sit and talk for an hour in the morning or longer or whatever. Martin and I, and this just happened the other day, occasionally it happens. One of us is going to be on vacation, or we got this to do, that to do, and all of a sudden we won't be able to record on a Friday. So in some instances, very few will say, let's just take the week off. We won't have any show. We'll let everybody know, whatever. But more often than not, when one of us comes and say, hey, I can't do next Friday, what do? We figure out a way to record 2 episodes in 1 week so we have that continuity. Not just not to keep the continuity for the viewers, but it's for us as well. It's like, I don't like missing the Hudson Valley Squares episode. I don't like missing in the Prog Seed episode, right? I look forward to when Grant and I are ranking a catalog of a band nobody's ever heard about before. As Grant always says, who else is talking these bands, right?
We did Roadmaster. I'm going, who is talking Roadmaster?
Nobody's talking this stuff, right? You know, when Jamie and I are on the crew with the Monsters Den and we're talking about these obscure horror movies that nobody's ever heard of before, we're like, we don't care. We love them. And we get geeky talking about this stuff. We did an episode a couple of weeks ago on the video nasties. For those who are watching and haven't seen it, you go check it out. I got to tell you, Jamie, how many times have you rewatched that episode? That is probably one of the best episodes we've ever done.
Yeah, it got a lot of views too. I was surprised.
Got a lot of views, and it was like, but I got off of that. One of the greatest things about doing this is when I get, and it's happened many times, is we get done, I press the stop button on an episode, and you have that feeling. You knew you created something really good there with the folks that you're on, and everybody looks at each other like, wow, that was really good. And then
I'm getting that feeling right now, Pete. I think this episode is kind of
I hope so. I mean, it's gotta resonate with people, and that can be frustrating, like I mentioned, because sometimes it's hard to gauge what the people will want to watch. But for me, I love it when you get off of doing a show with a bunch of folks or one other person, and you feel it. You knew that there was something really good going.
Yeah.
You know,
and how much? Look, I was just going to say, how much fun is it to play mad scientist and get different people mixed together to see what would happen? Let's get a couple people from state.
I don't know about
like
that.
right here. Let's get John Gaffney with Phil Aston and see what happens. You know?
Yeah, but you also learn there are certain people cannot do shows together.
Yes.
Oh, yes, we know that
because it's a train wreck.
Well,
that is the biggest challenge.
Want to do shows with
and then these people that were guests start emailing you. And they go back and forth. I can't be on this blub, and you're like stuck in this twister. It's just like oh my God.
I got a comment, Grant, that on the review crew. Why don't you have Grant on? I would. Grant doesn't listen to a lot of new music, though.
Yeah, but what if we listen to some old music that I've never heard?
No,
doesn't that
not
count?
on the review crew.
Well, that's not going to work, Jamie, because I can barely keep up with what
there's ever a reissue of something old that you like a big box set, let me know.
Let me add that reading the private feud emails are even more fun than reading comments.
Yeah, we haven't had anything lately, but something's bound to flare up.
It's been good for a while. Yeah, it's been good for a while.
I'd like to comment on Martin brought up something about documenting things, and the way I look at my channel, and I think maybe everybody else thinks the same way too, that I have a background as a teacher. I taught in school for 20 years. So some of what I do, I view it as almost like I want to put this here so that somebody, whether it's now or at some point in the future, will have this, will have a documentation of this, even if it's just what was everybody thinking about the new Deep Purple album the week that it came out. I did a video on how AI is going to might affect music. I did it about a year ago, and it's absolutely horrifying some of the things I said in there and where we are already. I was sitting there saying maybe in 10 years this will happen, and here we are like less than a year later, and some of this stuff is happening. So for me, I mean, again, maybe it's the educator in me. I like this idea of, and with everybody's channel, that you can go back. Pete, I love going back and seeing your older videos and seeing what was he thinking then when that album just came out, and for future reference, 10, 20 years from now, maybe people will go back and they'll want to know, hey, what was the mood in the music world in 2024, or what were people thinking when this happened or that happened?
We're just a big video library is really all we are. That's right.
Yeah.
It's And that's
Yeah,
that's
to
the fun.
document this stuff and to
Yeah.
have it there forever. I've been starting to do a thing now where the records that I buy, I call it my vinyl grab, and I show all the records that I've gotten recently. And it's a little bit of it is selfish because I'm also documenting like, okay, this is what I got in July of 2024.
Right.
And I'm looking at like, well, somewhere down the road, I can look back on this and I'll remember like, oh yeah, that's right. That's where I got that record and stuff like that.
You know, John, how much fun was it when we all used to hang out with buddies and your buddies would come over and whatnot, and they would go through your record collection or your CD collection. And it was like, yeah, pick something out, they're picking something out of you. That doesn't happen anymore. Sometimes I have all the CDs by like Jethro Tull, except I'm missing one, Roots to Branches. And I think, God, what if someone came over and saw I'm missing one? They go, what the hell, dude? You just get it. But you know what? No one's coming over ever. And no one's ever going to say that.
Jamie, I got it. That freaks me out. I mean, I literally every day I'm thinking about, I want to buy a whole bunch more physical product. I want to sell all my physical product. What's the easiest thing to do? Don't buy any physical product and don't sell it. Right?
Yeah.
It's like it just sits there. The CD
quote,
wall,
right,
the
Martin?
31-foot long CD wall by 7 feet just sits there, right? I mean, my vinyl is gone and come and gone over the years. And on a serious note, a good buddy of ours, Bill Barron, who had a massive stroke and he's in long-term care. Basically, he's not getting out, kind of thing. But he was kind of like the glue between a bunch of friends set where I would have people come over and we'd all like, trade stuff and buy stuff and sell stuff to each other, kind of thing, right? So that's all gone. So your whole thing about, I don't have anybody to my office anymore to see anything anymore, right? So it sits there, and I'm going through the whole, Pontus Norhammer, who's part of our contrarian set. He told me about this. He said in Sweden, he said what the word is, and it's in one of our panel books. But in Sweden, like eventually when we get mine and Phil's age kind of thing, is like they have this word for preparing for death, right?
Yeah.
Where you're supposed to clean out and sell all your stuff early enough so your ancestors don't have to deal with it, right? So I'm at that point now where it's like I kind of want to sell off everything, and then the next moment I'm saying, oh, I'd love to go on a big buying spree and catch up on all the stuff I'm missing, right? Or go out and buy a whole bunch of vinyl like the spots. Because I get on Pete's show and like I'm embarrassed half the time. It's like we just did a big new wave British heavy metal bunch of things, and every time I got to Iron Maiden Peace of Mind,
He doesn't have Peace of Mind. It's my favorite.
I don't have a physical of that anymore. Right?
Yeah, because we rely on Martin to bring out those pieces all signed.
Oh yeah, and I'm missing a lot. Yeah,
make us jealous, Martin.
So back to that, esoteric point about literally like, the video shows is almost becomes in my mind the collection itself, the digital video image of it, because I think more things over time. I've got to get rid of this stuff, right? I can't keep it all around, right? So, anyways.
Well, I found that since I've been doing this, I've actually increased my the amount of stuff that's coming. It's not gone the opposite way at all. Yeah. It's actually gone. It's like
I need to do new reviews every 2 weeks, and I gotta shit.
Yeah, the graph has reached the top of the paper, and it's just burst through the ceiling. But one of the things talking about people coming around and going through your records and going, oh wow, I didn't know you got that, and then you look at it and go, God, I haven't played that for years. I mean, one of the things I love about doing this, saying that when I started, it was trying to find like-minded people around the world who bought records and CDs and stuff and love music, is that it's just basically just sometimes just talking about what I have been playing. There's 5 albums this week that I've really enjoyed playing, and people really love that. And you get the comments saying, oh, wow, I haven't played that album, Phil, for a long time. I'm going to play that next. And then you say, what are you playing this week? And then they mention something that you have. And you think, I haven't played that for years either. And it's kind of that community where you're sharing with people, and you slowly over time get to know them. But you do need to buy Roots to Branches.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Good. I have it now.
Well, I know Pete and I've talked about this before because I've asked him, about, you bring in physical product. What does your wife say? My wife gives me crap. Grant, you need to trim this. You can get stuff, but you gotta sell it. And I'm going, I went through so many purges in my life. When I was in college, I would have all my collection because I needed money and I would sell it. Then I'd buy it back. Then I'd sell it. I'm not doing that anymore. And the thing is, I'm keeping this shit because I figure if I sell it, I'm giving up.
You
And
start running out of room, and then you gotta,
well,
you know what? Then
that's
I
what
gotta put
she
it,
says.
I start putting it in closets with the door shut and under
Yeah.
the bar, and then I'm mad because I can't see it all together as one big
Mm.
collection.
she's-
It's behind a door. Oh,
Jamie, I've
she's-
told
so
you
just
this,
so-
what Tim Henderson and I did years ago, when we, Brave Words, and we were getting so many free CDs constantly, right? What a problem to have, right?
Yeah, that's terrible.
And and I remember Tim and I going to this cool little business in industrial Scarborough and buying the little plastic sleeves that fit CDs and stuff. And what we both did, we bought like thousand count boxes of these little plastic sleeves, and we stripped all our jewel cases off and threw them away and put all the bits and pieces in these plastic. So my 31 foot by 7 foot wall, I could grab that many CDs and there'd be like 75 CDs in there. Right.
I can't do that. I
How do you
can't.
find anything?
I don't,
I have
have to
done
put
that,
it
but
in
I've only
big
done it on the dual
drawers.
ones. Yeah.
I don't know if I
I
could
see
do
people
that.
doing that with their Blu-rays too. I'm like,
It's hard
Oh,
to
he's-
run out of room. It's
I'm
really
a
hard.
purist. I can't do that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. A lot
But
of
there's,
times,
there's
like,
always room.
like when I do my shows with Martin on Fridays, in a lot of cases, and it's happened a lot lately for whatever reason. I'll say on the air, I'll say to Martin beforehand, do you have copies of this and this handy? I have them, but I don't know where they are. And I hate admitting that because they're in that closet. That's like, what you see behind me is very nice and organized, but all the stuff that doesn't fit there is in this closet. And because it's getting so overrun with stuff, now I have stuff in front of stuff in front of stuff. And I'm like, I kind of know where everything is, but I have to take all this stuff out. So I need to go in and do some serious purging. But
Ugh.
purging is hard because
I
you're
don't
like,
have
you
time
look
to
at
purge.
it's
Yeah.
well, there's
Well,
you have to find the time to
did
do
you-
that too.
Did you have in the US, in the UK, there was like the great vinyl cull of the early 90s. There was that like a tipping point when a lot of people, when CD had really come in and everyone just thought, vinyl, who cares?
Oh, I love those
Yeah.
people that got rid of it all.
And because all of those people are now getting it back.
That's
Right.
when I've said this on shows before. That's when I bought all my stuff. When all these people are going, oh, the CD's the greatest thing. Well, I think it's pretty damn great. And they hated their vinyl. I just went crazy. All those dollar albums that I bought are now $10 albums. I love it.
Guys,
Pete,
here's
what
a
do you need to
here's a,
do? Oh, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, here's a pro tip for everybody out there. I buy a lot of used records. I like to collect 80s metal. So I always bring cash with me for two reasons. Because if you go in with cash, a lot of times they'll give you a better price. And the second reason, there's no paper trail that your wife can find out about what you've bought.
Hey, that John's
Yeah.
smart.
Yes, gotcha.
Always never leave a paper trail. It's only every few months when she walks into my room here and goes,
Oh, there's been many times that Amazon dropped something off on my front stoop. I want to go up and grab it. I'm like, I'm going to wait till the wife's in the shower and grab it.
There you go.
We all do. Every male
Yeah.
has this
And
issue if they're
yes.
And
married.
Now,
is it annoying when everything all arrives at once? You've ordered things from several
Oh,
places.
Yeah.
And then my
and it
wife
all
will
arrives.
she'll go out and pick it up off the porch or whatever, and then set it in front of
This
me.
is all for you.
And I got
With
to put
a
in my
look. With a
discogs.
look.
Pete, what you need to do is the room that you do your videos in where your collection is, you got to tell your wife, we're going to move the master bedroom into here, and I'm taking the bigger master bedroom for my
Nope.
CD wall.
Yeah, that won't fly.
Yeah,
But,
That
yeah.
won't
Good
fly.
luck with that.
no.
But
Hey,
I must
I have
say,
a question for Jamie.
Yeah.
So, and I want to give Jamie a little bit of props here because I think he's doing a dynamite job. So we gave Jamie his own show on the channel. How many months ago, Jamie?
5 months ago, maybe
Months ago.
January.
Yeah, January, right at the beginning of the year. It's called The Review Crew, and I know a good amount of people watch it. And I think Jamie's doing a spectacular job. And one of the things that's been interesting to watch is to see Jamie slightly stressing at times, trying to come up with a new crew for every single episode, which is not easy. I can tell you, as someone who's been, manipulating and running the schedule for the channel and the rosters and
Album a homework assignment is what it's reminding me of a little bit.
a little bit, yeah. It's not easy. So he's doing it for one show. I do it for all of our shows. So it's not easy. That's a job in itself. I think Jamie has done a tremendous job in keeping the lineup for every episode fresh. I keep wanting to ask him, it's like, well, when do you think you're going to start doing this weekly? Because I think, quite frankly, it probably could be a weekly show if we had the time and, you know, the energy to do it. But that's kind of up to him at this point. But what I wanted to ask you is, do you get, how do you feel when you've put together, you know, in a sense, each episode is a different crew of people, and they're all people who we know, and then you brought in some newer people too, who we haven't appeared on the channel before, which I think is kind of cool. How do you feel when the episode is finished and it's been up for a couple of days, and you go look at the comments and you see those comments from people? Because I see them who really like that kind. It goes back to what you were asking before about this configuration of people who they've not seen on camera before, and they really like that group of people and that configuration. Because I mean, there have been some mixes of folks that have worked better than others as far as getting that kind of feedback. So how does it feel to you as the guy who's kind of putting these people together when you know you've found for that one episode a winning combination? That's got to feel pretty good, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of like a mad scientist. You're putting different things together to see how they react. And it does feel good. I don't personally feel good when there's good chemistry between everyone. I'm just happy that there is, period. And that's all. And for the most part, I think everyone's so like-minded about, you know, music and passionate that you could put almost anyone together on that show and it's going to work. You're going to get bounce back. I mean, some people said, you know, everyone's like, oh, Karen and Davey together is great. But then the next week it's like, oh, Karen and Ryan are great together. Yeah, it's all kind of great together. Everyone works well together on that show.
Yeah.
And I keep it to 4, so people aren't bouncing, you know, talking over one another.
I think
don't
4
want
is
the
the
show
right
to go for 2 hours as well. I think 4 is a very good number to keep it quaint, a little round table.
Yeah.
Jamie, you know, another number that's good is 1. And that's why I like doing my podcast, where I don't have to schedule anything. I just come up with the idea. I do it when I'm, you know, alert and like, okay, everything's in my head. Boom, just go get it done. So that also goes to my thing where I said, look, at my age, if I'm going to do this stuff, it's got to be pretty easy. And those grunt hours of the technology things that I might, you know, have wanted to learn years ago, I just adamantly don't want to do that. And that's why I've done the podcast with no guests for 260 episodes now, right? It's like
they're much
just the stress of you know, people say like interview rock stars and stuff, right? And that stresses, you know, I do that all the time, but to do that on camera or to schedule them and do all that back and forth, I don't want to do. So you know, that I think is nice too, when you can just do it.
You also have an advantage, Martin, because you're very established. People want to hear you talk by yourself. And like me, I'm just some talk show host. I got to have other people on a show because no one wants to listen to me yap about nothing. But you're in a different realm. So I get it. I love listening to when you just by yourself.
I used to put up content on my own channel, just talking into a camera. It's boring. It felt like work.
I mean, I could do it.
It is easy. It is easy, though. I will say that.
It is easy, but I just don't have a lot of fun doing it. So I stopped doing it.
Pete, your most successful shows the last while have been you by yourself, right? Those have been through the roof. That's been really cool. So yeah,
and they're also shorter.
It's easy and it's super successful, right? For you.
And they're shorter. Someone doesn't have to sit there for 90 minutes and watch a show.
Yeah, and I can record those whenever. So if a muse comes to me, I can just come out here and sit for 10 minutes, 15 minutes and do whatever and say whatever it is I'm going to say and get back to whatever I was doing. For the shows that we do together, right? We got to schedule them. And just so everybody knows, we're doing this show first thing early in the morning. As I talked with a couple of people here, that's my favorite time to do shows. That's why
Saturday morning is
then you're free after that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to tell folks, all right. When we do the Hudson Valley Squares, when we do Monsters Den, those are done at night. That's after a full work day. And on Monday nights, we shoot Hudson Valley Squares after In the Prague seat. So by the time I'm like halfway through Hudson Valley Squares, I'm toast. sometimes you can tell. And sometimes I feel bad because I'm just like, my energy level is draining. There are some Monsters Den shows we do on Thursday night. When we're like an hour into it, I can tell Jamie, Aloe, and myself are like sliding off the wall. And
Yeah, my brain turns off.
John and I do our
Oh.
Kicked in the Teeth AC/DC podcast at 8 in the morning every time. So
I can't. The first thing I thought of when you guys announced that was, Martin, why are you putting more on your plate? My goodness.
well, what
Yeah,
we
that doesn't make
decided though
sense.
is we're only doing that every 3 weeks or so. So we've been
Okay.
going for months and months, and we've only done 6 episodes, right?
I will say Saturday mornings are my favorite time to
Yeah.
record.
First thing in the morning
I'm in a
is
great
easy.
mood. Yeah, in the morning, I just got a bunch of coffee in me. Saturdays are a fun day for me. I'll be out by the pool grilling and drinking beers later. So I'm always in a good mood. And that's my jam right there. I'm
Yeah,
doing the
early
review
stuff is
right
great.
after this one.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
And why don't
Gordon
you
and I-
sit, Jamie?
Well,
People say-
all my shows are usually, I do a lot of live shows
And you're
because I
open
get
at
that
night.
rush on it. So I do that at night, but a lot of times I'll have 3 shows in one night, and that's normal.
I can't do
I'm
that.
like
no, I
a
couldn't.
machine.
I can't do that anymore.
And
like I
an
said,
amusing
do it.
thing I wanted to mention is that when all of this first started, I thought, Jamie, you mentioned drinking, right? I always thought that everybody's drinking all the time on these things. And then I realized, yeah, actually not. Most of the time people aren't drinking
No.
anymore. And then you think, and then sometimes you think, oh, I'm going to start drinking halfway through the show or whatever, right? And it's just
No.
like a gig, right? Where you go, yeah,
Yeah.
if I'm like looped before we start this thing, I'm gonna sound like inarticulate, and B, I'm probably gonna say some things I shouldn't have said, right?
Right. The first time I did a Contrarians episode where I was a Patreon, and I can just give a few bucks a month and I'm gonna be on the show. The first time was a Saturday night, and I was drinking all day by the pool, and my wife was like, "Look at you, you're gonna do a show?" I said, "This might turn into something. I'm gonna do it." Hey, it did turn into something. Yeah, I was kind of hammered.
Oh, you were on the very first Contrarian show, Jamie.
Was I? I was pretty hammered.
I'm looking at it right now. There are some people that were on it that aren't here anymore.
I might even had a beer in my hand. I'm not sure.
You're on it. I'm on it. Todd Evans is on it.
Well, I remember Pete told me, didn't you say like the very first show we ever did, you were super hungover that morning, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
and I
you were
remember the
for sure.
Facebook pictures the night before. It was him by the pool like this.
It was like 9 o'clock at night. I was out by the pool. I remember Martin commented on my Facebook post. He goes, "Don't forget we have a show tomorrow."
tomorrow.
And my
Yeah.
head was like, boom. Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
But
I
with the
never
rest of
do a show hungover. If
Oh,
I
my
gotta do
God,
something
it's
in the
hard.
morning,
It's
no,
hard.
no.
Yeah.
I have to
Who
watch
gets
that.
hungover anymore?
No,
Oh,
yeah.
I know. I
Jamie.
can't stand it. Can't stand it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things,
Jamie
that-
gets hungover.
one of the things, Jamie, you mentioned in that the sheet of the questions you sent round was how to fitting in with your normal life and what you guys have.
Yeah,
always-
that's a whole different. I was gonna do a part 2.
Well, I just
Go
wanted,
on.
just based on what you just said, I mean, I don't do any shows in the evening. I don't do any recording in the evening. That's kind of like family time. That's kind of,
Right.
there's a line there.
Yeah, when Phil and I do our
um,
shows
che-
together, it's 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like right
Yeah,
off the
I mean,
bat.
the morning. So wish over
yeah.
here when I'm really lucky enough to be with you guys, and that it's kind of early afternoon in the UK, so it kind of fits in with where I tend to do stuff. So I kind of do all the marketing in the morning, and the afternoon I do recording shows and stuff. There might be, if I'm interviewing someone, it might be early evening, but I kind of keep the evenings kind of blank. And those of you, have just said you can do one after the other. I mean, fair play to you. That is
Not easy.
Doing 2
It's
this
just how
morning
it
is a
happens.
bit much.
I have to schedule this stuff somewhere. Sometimes I move stuff around, but show must go on.
because there's a lot of energy in doing any of this, even if you are even if it's just yourself talking just singularly to the camera,
Right.
it's still
Gotta get the energy. Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I must say, when we do those Contrarian live shows on Wednesday, that takes me a long time to get all that crap together.
All those
But
graphics, it's not easy.
It's
Yeah,
all about the show.
yeah.
I want it to look good. I want to produce a quality product.
You're doing it
my gra-
once, so
Yeah.
make it look good. You get one
But I
shot.
do it with every show that I do. And it's
Heart and
that
soul in
TV background. It's doing all that television production. I treat it like a television show.
Right.
Can't help
And
It's
it
the way
turns
I
out
do it.
well. Now, I only got through one talking point. I had 4. I have 3 more of these. So
Well,
I don't know
probably
what
ought
you
to do
guys
another
want to
show.
do. You want to cut it here, do a part 2?
Yeah, we may want to do a part 2 at this point.
We could tackle probably the other 3 in one show. I would
Okay.
think, maybe not. Maybe it's a 3-parter. I don't know. Maybe it's a 4-parter. So we could leave it here and maybe get together in a week or 2 or something and continue the
And
conversation.
maybe bring in our other colleague who didn't make it today. So.
Yeah, and maybe he could touch base on this aspect of it and get into how the homework is, how much work.
I think
how
that's a
much
big
work you
part of
put
it. We
into
need to tackle that. Yeah, that's a big
yeah,
part.
your podcasts, and is the homework like your me time, or do you have me time on top of the homework? Do you lose sleep on all of this? Do bad comments affect you at all? How's your family life affected? All that stuff I wanted to get into, and we didn't even touch it. We touched it a little bit.
I
So
think there's a separate show for vinyl and CD storage as well.
oh my goodness.
I'd like to talk about that.
Let's go.
That's a whole. So
I'd like to know how everyone organizes. How do you keep it alphabetically together?
I just keep it out.
Stay tuned.
There's so many questions there. So many questions.
So many
Cliffhanger. That's a
questions.
cliffhanger for everybody
that
out
is,
there.
yeah.
Pete, why don't you arrange your movies by director, not by
Oh,
alphabet? I'm like, oh, you know,
no, by genre. All my music's by genre too. They're
You should-
specific. I have a
Wow.
proto metal section. I have a heavy metal section. I got a stoner rock section.
But Jamie,
heard
that
people
band's
tell
not
me they've
quite proto
arranged
metal. That band's this. It's like
I know.
yeah.
Whatever, sometimes it's whatever feels right. This is what I do when I got about 9 beers in me. And if I want a certain band, where do I go right away? And if it's not in proto metal, and that's where I went on instinct, it needs to go to proto metal. Don't overthink it. What does the drunk brain think? Drunk brain is always right.
Someone told me once they arranged their CDs by year. That's pretty
Ooh.
wild.
That's pretty wild.
Oh, that'd be a lot of work.
You'd have to
No.
know the years.
Yeah, you would. That's actually
Did the Yes album come out in 71 or
71.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at that part, but I don't think I could arrange. That just
No,
doesn't
no.
seem very.
no.
I'm not.
Martin and I should do a whole show about how we have our new wave of British heavy metal albums arranged in our collection, so everybody can get honest about that doesn't belong there and that doesn't belong
Yeah.
there. Belong there. Why is Ozzy Osbourne Blizzard of Oz not included in there? Why is Gil in there? Why is Judas Priest Stained Class not there? It's like, oh my god.
Well, I
Yeah,
will
and
say
I got
this.
like 80s metal section and Magma's in there. Or Magnum. The
Magma?
AOR band. Yeah. I get Magma and Magnum.
So I have
and
an
he's got a
unrelated-
douche rock section.
I got a douche rock section.
So Phil, I got a question for you because it came up like 3 times in yesterday's comment section from the episode through with Martin. Magnum,
Yep.
not a new wave of British heavy metal band, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I saw them in a little town where I lived in Solihull in the Red Lion pub, and there was about 10 people in there. It's 1976, I think it was, and they opened with King.
There you go.
Yeah, well, that was before the new wave of British heavy metal. 1976.
They're not even metal, really, right?
Well, no, they're not.
Right. But I keep them in 80s
They're
metal.
prog.
That's
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it feels right. That was my point.
exactly.
But I
it
think
does.
the people
It does.
who will argue that they belong are like, well, if they don't belong, then Praying Mantis and Demon also don't belong.
No, they do because they came out at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Well, how would we need to arrange that in the CD library? Just right.
It's got to be perfect, right?
Got to be perfect.
Anyway,
All right, guys. Well, we will continue this conversation. I don't know when, but we'll do it. And I think it'll be just as fun as this one. And I think everyone here will be excited to do it. And we'll get Scott on there, and Scott will do his Scott things, and it will be great. So anyways, in the meantime, go ahead and check us out on www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time, no matter what show you host. Hit the notification bell and give us a like. And don't forget that we have a Ko-fi page, and we also have a Cameo page where you give Pete some money, and he'll let you host the show for a week. The whole Sea of Tranquility if you give him enough money. No. But my point is, a lot of you guys out there are saying, cool. See, you'd pay to do it too, just like me. So don't fucking judge. So anyways, we got a merch page as well. Get yourself a cool hat like that. And until part 2 comes around, maybe next weekend, maybe a couple weeks, we'll see you then. Take care, everyone.
And in the meantime,
you.
please go check out Layer the Alchemist, The Contrarians.
Oh, yes.
History in 5 Songs with Martin Popoff, Now Spinning Magazine, Grant's Rock Warehouse, and everything else here. So
Thank you.
everybody.
Pro did forget. I forgot.